now we'll read about the changing nature of state in socialist economies. Okay, so basically, as you know, socialist economies have given larger role to the state. Okay, right. State. Okay. So, for example, uh, a socialist state or a worker state or a communist state, okay, is a sovereign state which is constitutionally dedicated for the establishment of socialism. Okay. So now here we'll read about the interpretations of Marx. Okay. Sorry for being a bit slow, but I'm also making notes, short notes alongside, so it might take some time. Okay. So in the interpretations of Marx, we find variations. Okay. As you know, basically, Marx is against capitalist states and calls them as the executive class of the bourgeois. Okay. But however, he is in favor of socialist state. Okay. So what he sees that socialist states are or socialist steps are a step towards a classless communist society. Okay. Then, in such situation where there shall be a communist society, socialism will also wither away. Okay, as there won't be a need of a state. Okay, and as it is a classless society, it will be equal. Okay, in Marxist tradition, okay, we see that state is seen as an instrument of capitalists. Okay, so now here we will learn about the instrumentalist theory. Okay, in Marxism only. Instrumentalist theory of state. Basically, this topic overlaps with the topic in paper 1A. Okay, but we'll do there also and here also and later link it there. Okay, so first, instrumentalist theory of state. So what does this theory say? Basically, that state is an instrument of the bourgeois class. Okay, so this is written in his book Communist manifesto. Okay. Another scholar will add here, who is Ralph Miliband. Okay. He also says that he also states that even welfare states are instrument of capitalist class. Okay. Okay. And he also states that the class, okay, so here in welfare state also, the class which holds the main production, okay, or which controls production of goods, services, etc., holds power. Okay, so that was his view. Then after this, we are going to study about the structural analysis. Okay, or you can also call it as relative autonomy approach. Okay, so here the book where this theory is mentioned is 18th Brumaire of Louis Bonaparte. Okay, so this is also a book of Marx. Hmm. So as you can see, wait. So in this theory, relative autonomy, which means that state is not an instrument. Okay, state not act as an instrument. Okay, rather Rather, state leverages between the dominant classes. Okay, so here the view is that basically, sh- in the society there are more than one dominant classes. Okay, so a single class cannot basically cannot uh, control the basic structure. Okay, so state is not an instrument as a single class. If you to take state which is run by only capitalists, okay, so the state as a single class is not an instrument. Okay, as state leverages between multiple classes. Okay, so state can also leverage between dominant classes, or like for example, in one crisis state leverages with capitalist class, in another they leverage with proletariats. Okay, like that. But basically here, Nicholas, I will write the name of the scholar. Okay, so you can write here Nicholas, sorry, not Nicholas, Nikos Poulenc. Okay, in his book Political Power and Social Classes. he highlights that state is only relatively dependent. Okay, so normally he says that state is not neutral and state favors the proletariat. So state favors the propertied. Okay, not proletariat. Okay, propertied are who? Bourgeois. Hmm. So as you can see, basically, in actual practice, none of the Marxist states have followed the Karl Marx model of communism. Okay, whether in USSR, China, Cuba, North Korea, no one has followed Karl Marx model of communism. Okay, instead of the state withering away, you can see the dictatorship of communist parties. Okay, so Marx model of communist communism not followed. Instead, state became more powerful. Okay, and instead of dictatorship of proletariat, what emerged was instead of emerged the dictatorship of communist parties. Okay, you can see examples. Okay, like first USSR did not follow the Marx model of communism. Okay, even socialism was somehow okay established there. So here Fukuyama tells that it is or declares as the end of history. Why he declares it as end of history? Because of the defeat of USSR and the the success of liberalism or liberal approach. Okay. Then second, you can see Deng Xiaoping of China. So he came up with his own model of socialism. Okay, where China is socialist in political sphere. Okay, and capitalist in economic sphere. Okay, and he calls it as socialism with Chinese characteristics. Okay, now even in India, you can see that a socialist state was constitutionally put forward. Okay, so you can see in the 42nd Amendment. Okay, then you can recently in the Balram Singh case. it was upheld that India is also a socialist state, okay, and the fundamental nature of state has changed from Nehruvian socialism to a more liberal form of socialism, okay. 1991 reforms, which led to the change of Nehruvian socialism, okay. Therefore, we observe that socialist states have been challenged across the world. Yes, correct. And you can see that, wait, let me write the changes, okay, how the socialist state changed, okay. So first, it was in a low state paradigm, okay. Hmm. This was Marxism during Marxism. Then again at a high state paradigm, this was during socialism or socialist movement, okay, and again at a low state paradigm after the 1991 reforms, okay, or after the 1991 crisis. Currently, there is a clear shift towards the Western liberal order, okay. You can see that socialism is slowly shifting towards Western liberal order, okay. Mm, okay.